Have you ever been inspired to create a lovely piece of art, only the artwork looks more or less like something made by a toddler? Well, watercolor is no exception, and it's often a hard type of art that's hard to get a grasp on. Trust me, I've definitely been there and done that. But just by practice and lots of failed attempts, I have learned some techniques that prove to be beneficial when doing watercolor. The first one is the wet on dry technique. So the wet on dry technique is the most commonly known and or used, and this technique is typically used when you want bold lines for emphasis in watercolor paintings. For example, in this demonstration right here, where there is wet on dry technique being used are the stems of the flowers. And as the name also implies, this is when you take a wet brush and apply it onto dry paper. So, just for a quick demonstration, you're going to want to take a brush, and luckily mine, you can just squeeze and there's water, and then apply any color you want onto the brush, like so. In this case, I'm going to do blue, and simply just do a stroke, like so. And this is the wet on dry technique. Now, for another example, we have this lovely artwork called Blossom Girl. Some areas where I found the wet and dry technique is used is this gate canopy right here, and then also the tree trunk right here. You can see the bold lines. Similarly to the wet on dry technique is the wet on wet technique. This technique is used for blending and or soft lines, and as the name also implies, this technique is when you take a wet brush and apply it onto wet paper. So for the demonstration, to do this, you're going to want to wet your brush and lightly coat the paper in water, like so. Now, take any color you want. I'm going to do green in this case. Green, instantly, just do little dabs. I'm trying to do a big amount so I can show you. And see how it kind of just naturally flows into this explosion. And you can also see that in this example right here. Now regarding the Blossom Girl, some examples in which you see the wet and wet technique is in the tree leaves right here and also the clouds. That's how you achieve that look. So you can either use both of those techniques either separately or collectively, but I will be showing you another example of how to use these techniques or build off of these techniques separately. The next technique is the gradient technique, and this technique is also well known as you see it in sunsets, in a lot of sunset paintings and ocean paintings, and as the name also implies, it's used to see a kind of gradient. And in this example right here, we start with a darker blue and it goes lighter. And for this technique, you can either use the previously mentioned wet on dry technique or the wet on wet technique. So for this demonstration, I'm going to be using the wet on dry technique. And let me just do a quick demonstration for you. So simply wet your brush, apply the wanted color. And for this part, you're going to want to be fairly quick, because the paint dries really fast. So simply get a darkly pigmented color on your brush, and you want to do a deeply pigmented stroke at the top of your page, and then slowly ascend your brush downward in a left or right to left position, like so. And as you can see, we start with this darker blue right here and a lighter blue right here. Now, regarding the Blossom Girl as well, where we see this technique being used is the clouds. We can see an onset of blue, pinks, and even whites and yellow. Now, as you can see, Knowing just a couple techniques can help watercolor painting dramatically. So as a recap, what we went over today was the wet on wet technique, the wet on dry technique, and the gradient technique. And just by knowing some of the basics and continuing off of that will enhance your artistic ability in watercolor. So hopefully today you'll take the knowledge that you have gained and make your own artistically beautiful paintings. And hopefully it won't turn out looking like something a kindergartner has made. And then if you're all curious, here are some resources in which you can look up more techniques and also the direct site to the painting I used in this demonstration. Thank you.